The following program is produced by Project Bait and does not reflect the views of this station.
This is Mark Wells, and this is part 3 of the Wells Report on Blackface for My People. In part 2 of this report, I concluded by asking if it was ever okay for non-blacks to imitate black people by wearing blackface. With that question in mind, take a look at these photos used in an ad for UNICEF Germany. As you can see, the faces of each of these German children has been smeared with mud. But why? What was the purpose of the ad? The idea was to promote the necessity of education in Africa. One of the ads read, "I'm waiting for my last day of school. The children in Africa still wait for their first." Another caption reads, "In Africa, kids don't come to school late, but not at all." So what is the message here? The first message seems to be, children in Africa don't have access to education. This, of course, ignores the existence of millions of highly educated Africans, but it also promotes the colonial era image of Africa as a place of uneducated, backwards, and savage people. The mud-smeared faces also equate blackness with something dirty, soiled, and sullen, just like the definitions of black that you would find in a dictionary. Now, if the purpose of these ads was to show that people cared about the education of African children, that's certainly not the first impression I got. Now, even though blackface is seen in a negative light, sometimes people offer legitimate reasons as to why they paint their faces to appear black. And in those cases, at least they attempt to make the person look legitimately black, rather than the hideous portrayals of black folk in overly racist depictions of the early 20th century. For example, in 2008, in the film Tropic Thunder, actor Robert Downey Jr. portrayed a white actor who dyes his skin to get the part in the film originally meant for a black actor.
I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
In Germany, journalist Gunther Wallraff goes through a very intricate transformation for his documentary Schwarz auf Weiß, which means black on white, to know what it was like to experience racism as a would-be Somali man in German society. My question in this scenario would be, why is this necessary? There is a black population in Germany, and some black Germans have spoken about their experiences with racism. Are their experiences not good enough? Are they not authentic enough? If we wanted to measure authenticity, why would we consider the perspective of a white German man who has never been a person of color? After all, real black folk will always be black and don't have the opportunity to escape blackness just because the camera stops rolling. In this Brazilian skit from the mid-1990s, 3 non-black Brazilian actors performed in a scene that highlights the issue of black Brazilians who deny that they are black.
Não adianta, pai. Eu sou negro.
In the scene, the young man proudly announces, "Eu sou negro," or "I am black." The parents, also in denial of a black identity, are shocked and dismayed by his proclamation. The mother claims that they should send the boy to Sweden in order to remove this idea from his head. These are the 3 Brazilian actors in this scene. Again, I would ask, Brazil has the largest black population outside of Africa. Why was it necessary to paint the faces of 3 non-black actors for this scene? Now, as I've mentioned before, usually when there's public outrage over blackface, the usual excuse is that the performers and producers meant no harm and that they didn't know it was derogatory. But at best, that's a weak excuse, and at worst, it's a flat-out lie. You see, we cannot judge the dehumanizing images of blackface without also considering other inflammatory depictions of black people as monkeys and ape-like beings that are not quite human. And although we associate such images with America's racist past, such images can be found throughout the world. In May of this year in Belgium, a Congolese man named Mobutu Mandando went to court in a battle to get a comic strip called Tintin in the Congo removed from Belgian libraries. According to Mandando, the comic, which appeared in the 1930s, depicts the people of the Congo, who were colonial subjects of Belgium, as childish imbeciles that must worship white men. Note the images of the Africans. In Brazil, the popular comic O Chico Chico debuted a black character named Azeitona in 1931. In Portuguese, the term azeitona means olive. In this case, noting the color of the character, I would assume they meant black olive. The comic strip would also feature another black character known as Lamparina. Lamparina is supposed to be a little black girl, and corresponding to the character's appearance, in one of the stories, Lamparina dreamt of being a monkey that fell out of a tree. Which leads me to this latest incident. On the January 2nd, 2010 episode of For My People, I reported that the government of Peru had issued an official apology to its black population for centuries of racism and social exclusion. Well, this official recognition of racism was apparently not enough to deter the producers of the Peruvian TV show El Especial del Humor from airing a character named Negro Mama on the show. The character is played by the actor Jorge Benavides, who is of mixed indigenous European ancestry. In the comedy skits, the Negro Mama character is portrayed as a mentally handicapped thief with over-exaggerated facial features and afro hair. The Afro-Peruvian organization Lundu led a series of protests against the character, which led to the character being dropped from the show by the Frecuencia Latina TV network. After the removal of the character from the show, the offices of the Afro-Peruvian group were bombarded with violent voicemails and threatening messages sent by email and social networking sites like Twitter and Facebook. Peru is home to about 3 million Afro-Peruvians, and racist sentiments comparing blacks to monkeys are common in this South American nation. The Lundu group's victory of removing the Negro Mama character from TV was short-lived, as the Frecuencia Latina network announced weeks later that the character would soon be back on the air. So in reference to the question I posed in the second part of this series, is it ever okay for non-blacks to imitate black people by wearing blackface? The simple answer is no. And although I cannot speak for nearly 1 billion people of African descent on this planet, myself and voices of dissent throughout the world would prefer that you leave blackness to those who know it best. Black people. This is Mark Wells, and this concludes a 3-part series on blackface for My People.
If you have a business in Metro Detroit, you should be in the Detroit Black Pages. For info, call 961-3289. That's 961-3289.
Hello, my name's Gary Rocamore, and I'm the president of the All Home Improvement Repair. It's about that time to get your home repaired. Give us a call at 739-7771. That number again is 313-739-7771.
The preceding program was produced by Project Bait and does not reflect the views of this